Ladies and gentlemen, Samantha Riley is about to blow your mind in terms of using your knowledge to really impact people and create a life by design. I don't know about you, but that is a game changer when you truly understand how to do that. So stay tuned so you can get all this wisdom, okay? Let's talk to you because you're becoming your greatest possible self. You're growing, you're evolving, you're showing up, you're listening to podcasts, going to seminars, getting the coaching that you need, investing in yourself. So I so value you. I acknowledge you, and keep showing up. Keep doing your best. Whether it's staying tuned to the 12-hour marathon or taking the next steps with us in coaching and burn-up coaching, or hiring Samantha, you're going to find out more about her services and what she's able to do for you and help you make a massive impact. Whatever the next steps are, take them. Okay, you're here to grow. So get outside of your comfort zone and grow. Thanks for being here. Let's talk to you because you're also here tuning in. And I want to share about our iTunes review of the week from Logix. Logix says, such passion and high energy. Chris provides such enthusiasm in all he does because it's who he is. His podcast is a great resource with fabulous guests, and I'm excited to have found this platform to learn as much as possible to expand my life on so many levels. Thank you, Chris. You are welcome, Logix, and if you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, we would love hearing your feedback and just getting the inspiration from you. What do you feel? What do you get? What do you receive from the show? And also, how can we improve it for you and make it even better? Okay, so go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store, and you can give us a review like that and let us know what you want to see more of, what you love, and get a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream. I'm going to introduce Samantha in just a second here. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. This is the fire you have been waiting for all day long, because she is the final interview of the day. Woo woo! And we are going to bring the heat. This is the best for last, saving the best for last. So definitely stay tuned, and let's introduce her and bring her on the screen. Samantha Riley is a speaker, international business growth strategist, #1 best-selling author, and host of the Thought Leaders Business Lab podcast. And she has over 25 years of personal experience in building and growing businesses. Today, she helps thought leaders and experts to scale their business by leveraging their knowledge so they can have more income, more freedom, and more impact. And we're going to be diving into such a juicy, powerful conversation. And before that, I just want to let you know, like, she's such an awesome host, such a great human being. And I got a beautiful opportunity to be on her show, and just the questions that she asks, the depth that she has, you can truly tell she knows her stuff. So Samantha, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
Yeah, let's do this.
Oh, we are doing it. We're live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you for being here. And we are diving in, Samantha. The theme today is serve with love. What does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, when I saw this, actually, I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory. That's what I do best, right? Going back years and years and years ago, when I was on my very first podcast, one of the questions someone asked me, and this was on a business podcast, right? And a lot of people think business is super logical. We have to take the fun out of it. It's like, what's your superpower? And without even thinking, I just went love. And he went, huh? Like, he just kind of, huh? And I'm like, seriously? Because that is how we all can change the world.
Yes.
And that's what it means to me. And when I saw that was the theme for today, I was like, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. And we're going to hear about all that you're doing, because you're really using love to bring out people's stories, their journeys, their genius, their knowledge, so that they can serve others and really solve those problems. So I love what you're doing, Samantha. Let's talk about how you're supporting people with your podcast today, being a coach and a strategist and consultant, all that you're doing. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So what I do is I help people to really leverage their knowledge. Now, what does that actually mean? We've all got knowledge that has got a perception of a dollar amount on it. Mm-hmm. So if your knowledge, or imagine that you had a bar of iron, for example, and that bar of iron is worth $5. If you turn that bar of iron into horseshoes, it is then worth $12. If you turn it into sewing needles, it's worth $3,500. If it's turned into the balance springs for watches, this is a thing apparently, it is worth $300,000. So we've all got this knowledge, and we could use it in a way that other people value it, i.e. go to a job, get paid a certain amount of dollars per hour that someone decides, or we can take that knowledge, use our superpowers, bring in our expertise and our experiences, and turn that into something far, far, far greater.
Wow, I love it. And I hear really taking control of your destiny, being the creator of your
Hmm.
reality is a huge, part for you to not
Yeah.
be under somebody else's, dictation of, hey, here's how you're supposed to live your life, Samantha. So we're going to go back into your journey and talk about where did you get this drive to be the creator of your reality and serve so many people?
Yeah. So I was in a corporate job back when I was 19. It was my first job. I got a good government job. I'd made it in the world, right?
Hmm.
At that time, I was already married and had two children. So I started off I was very young.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in this office thinking, wow, I've got this dream job. But it was everyone else's dream. And I looked around one day and just went, oh my goodness, no one's smiling. Like, what is this? I could grow up and be here for my whole entire life. And I felt like I was looking at my future. And I went, this is not for me. This is
Nope.
not what I want to do. Now, let me just say, I did love that job. I loved the people that I worked with, but it just wasn't for me. So I went out, I started my first business, which was a dance studio. From there, I opened some dancewear stores. We had a retail chain. And I did that until I was about 40.
Mhm.
Okay, so what happened in 2010, my ex-business partner was also and is now my ex-husband, and my life just crumbled. We separated, and I lost everything. And that's how this journey started of me going, okay, I've got this blank slate. I can now create whatever it is that I want to do.
Mhm.
What is it that I want to do? So obviously there's a lot of that part of that story that I haven't covered, but right from the beginning, I knew we are the creators of our own life.
Wow.
And, we've got these things. When I first started business, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have email, we didn't have social media platforms. We couldn't, video conference like this with people on the other side of the world. Like,
Crazy.
we have got so many opportunities, and we can pretty much do whatever we want.
Yeah. Oh my
We,
gosh.
we
I
can.
love it. I love it. So you did the dance studio, right?
Uh-huh,
And that was
uh-huh.
till, about 10 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
What was it like to construct a new identity? You mentioned you had a blank slate. Tell us about that
Yes.
process and how you did that.
So one of the big things was like when my marriage, when I separated, I lost my businesses. I actually moved interstate, and the question here's the funny thing: when I first went into business when I was 20, the
Mhm.
question I asked myself was, what do I need to do right now to leave this good government job?
Mhm.
And I danced all my life, so for me it was easy. It was like, I know I can open a dance studio.
Mm.
What I should have asked myself, and this is key, this is so important. What I should have asked myself is, what is the life that I'm wanting to create?
Mm.
Why am I doing this? Because the answer would have been, I want to spend more time with my children. Now, let me just tell you, if you have a retail store, you have to be open 9 to 5, or if late night trading 9 till 9.
Okay.
When you own a dance studio, you're working out of school hours. So I was starting work at like 9 in the morning and working till 9 or 10 at night.
Oh
Do you think
my
I saw my kids more or less? It was
gosh.
just crazy. I saw them a lot less. And so that was one of the big takeaways I got, was we have to ask ourselves the right questions. So the
Mm.
question I asked myself when I had that blank slate is, luckily I did learn, what is the life that I want to create?
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
who do I want to be surrounded with? I wanted to be, I love business. It is my favorite thing in the world. I could talk about business underwater with marbles in my mouth for 2 days without coming up for a breath. Love it. So I'm like, hey, I want to be in business. I want to have these conversations with business people, with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I want to see my friends and family and share meals with them. I want to travel. I don't want to be location dependent. I want to meet a partner that values contribution on a global scale, and all of these great things. So what I did was start to put the things in place
Mhm.
to create that. And that to me is what Life by Design is all about. It's
Mm.
about having a very clear picture about what you want, and then putting the things into place, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. And most people give up because it seems so out of their reality that you can actually do these things. But, at the time, if someone said to you, like, Chris, in 10 years' time, what do you want your life to be like? Like,
Mm.
biggest idea, you'd probably be like, oh, this and that. And some of it might think, oh, but I don't know how, or I don't know if. But if you were looking back in 10 years' time going, wow, it only took 10 years, you'd be like, hells yeah, we're in, right?
Yeah. That's so powerful. I know for everyone who's tuning in, especially to the podcast, I know you have a gift at the end that we're going to be sharing about with them. So if you're listening to the podcast, go to the site while you're listening to this and go download Samantha's gift. She's going to be giving you super powerful about this. Really creating your life, your dream life. We'll talk about that later. And definitely, if you're watching this live, stick to the end so you'll get that gift. But I love this. I love really starting with the end in mind. Samantha, this is so powerful, and I think a lot of people are kind of just wandering through life, waiting for life to happen to them, not being the creator, not being like the person who says, what do I want? What is important to me? And we're letting society's expectations and things like that dictate who we become. And so you and I, we become these people who say, nope, that's not for me. I'm going to tune in to what I want. And I would rather spend 10 years striving to get to the life of my dreams than 40 years trying to fit into somebody else's mold.
Yeah. And there's two more things to add to that. Number one, it doesn't even need to take 10 years. Like it doesn't. Yeah. It can take as long as we believe. Like, right, like now I understand more about quantum physics and, I can create things almost instantly now. So, it is part of the journey. But the other thing is, it's not just society that we're afraid of judging us to make our own, or that creates our rules. Mm-hmm. One of the other big parts of this is actually we judge ourselves. Like, someone might say, oh, I really want a Ferrari, but who am I to have that? Other people will judge me. Maybe I shouldn't want that because there's someone down the road that can't afford their dinner today. And they start to think, no, that's too big for me. But one of the biggest things a friend of mine said this to me years ago. He's like, Sam, just say this to yourself. I want what I want because I want it. And that's the end. The end.
Just own
and
it.
now I feel like, okay, so I do want a bigger house. Cool. Why? Because I want it. End of story. It's, we don't have to judge ourselves for wanting things. If you don't want that and money's not important to you, that is totally fine. I'm not saying it's all about the money. All I'm saying is that it's your life, it's your values, it's your reality. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I love this. So it's really, if we have some kind of self-sabotaging judgment, then we really get to be aware of that, check that. And I'm sure, having a conversation with a coach like yourself, Samantha, like people can really get clear on where are they stopping themselves or blocking themselves from actually having what they want. So I think that's one part of it. And then I also know that like supercharging your desires, saying like, why do I want this? Getting connected with it, right? In quantum realm world, physics, like you really get to pour your energy into something and the gratitude that we've already received it before it even happens. And that's what makes the reality manifest like freaking crazy fast.
So fast. I got married overseas last year, so I actually did meet the man of my dreams, and we did get married last year, and we actually got married overseas. We got married in Alaska on the top of a glacier. Wow. So we had to catch a helicopter up there, and we were up there, and we were there with our friends and my kids. But what happened was, I think it was 3 weeks before we were due to leave, I got a call saying, the travel agent that took all your bookings has committed fraud and we can't refund your money because it's all gone into, it's been locked up and you've got no tickets and the end. And I remember I was actually interstate and I rang my then fiance and he's like, oh, we can't go. I went, of course we can. I've already seen it. We're on a glacier. I can picture it. I know what everyone's wearing. The helicopters are yellow, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever. Like, he just knows how crazy I am. And you know what? We were there 3 weeks later. The helicopters were yellow, and it was exactly like I'd pictured it. And it was so surreal. It's almost like I'd already been there. And it's because I'd created that. And it was so real, and it was so vivid, and it was so clear that I just brought that clarity and I brought that vision into reality.
Wow. So that is so important to really get that clarity, to write it out, to journal it out, to like make that shift into knowing what we want versus kind of just floating around. What would be the next stage in the evolution of like really applying our knowledge, applying our wisdom, our experience, or what we've gone through to be able to serve people, Samantha?
Yeah. So this is the part where you have to be really clear on what it is. Like once you know what you want your business to be like, then you can create your business to suit that. So if you want to be
Mm,
traveling around the world, you know that you need to be creating an online business.
yep.
If you are happy to be at home to be with your children, or that's what you want,
Mhm.
then you know that you've got to create a business where you're at home from like you're home out of school hours.
Mhm.
So the very first thing is not to think, what do I want my business to look like, but what does that life look like? And then from there, who are the people I want to surround myself with? Who um, how do I want to be interacting with them? What are the things that light me up?
Mm,
Do I prefer to work one-on-one with clients like this? Do I prefer to be standing on stages and delivering to 300 people? Like, what is it that
mm,
lights me up? And then from there, it's breaking down your knowledge, understanding what are your so this comes down to four different parts. What are your skills? So, what is your degree, or what is your past job experience?
mhm.
What are your strengths? So what are the personal strengths within that? If you're in accounting, do you find working with small business owners and helping them to be able to 10x their business, like is that your superpower, is
Right.
that your special skill?
Mm,
Then what are your experiences? Things like losing a large amount of weight, or being homeless, or divorce, or losing a child, or having six children. Like what is these things that have happened in your life that gives you experiences that are able to help others?
mhm,
And then the fourth piece of what are your passions?
mm,
And whether these passions work into your business or work into your branding, that's sort of the next step. But
mhm,
just brainstorm, like, what is it that you love? Like
yeah.
for me, I sat down, I'm an ex-dancer. I love dance. I'm not a dance teacher now, I'm not a dancer now,
Mm,
but I still have that as part of my brand. It's still part of the stories, the learnings from being a dance teacher I apply to
mm,
business. I love fine wine. I
mm.
talk about all the time. I get gifts of fine wine all the time. It's not part of my business, but it's part of my branding. So
Yeah.
all of these four areas, they come together, and that
Mm,
is your gift to the world.
mm.
When you package them up, those
That's
four
great.
areas, and that's your gift to the world.
So I hear, past experiences I think is huge to know, hey, where have we been? What can we leverage? What was the through line, right? The thread that connected everything. That's what we can look for, the experiences, but also, what are we good at naturally? Our skills that we've developed, what ways can we serve people? Strengths would be like character strengths, like what are you
Yep.
who are you, and that people like, they recognize you for something. Maybe you have great energy, maybe you are consistent, maybe you're reliable, maybe you just like really have a great ear and you listen to people and like you're a
Yeah.
great listener, maybe that's great. And then the passions is like, what do you want to continue to invest yourself into, your energy, your
Yes.
time, and become like an expert at an area of life, a topic, that kind of thing. And then when we get that combination, we start to think about that, brainstorm that, put some ink on the paper, Samantha, that's when we can really say, how do we piece it all together and create a solution that works best for us, in at least saying this is the direction I want to go. May not be the final destination, but it's going to be my next steps. I'm going to go test, I'm going to go validate and see if the marketplace really does have a need for this, or if it really does resonate with me.
Absolutely. And it's those strengths and it's the experiences that is going to turn that knowledge or leverage that knowledge, 7, 8, 9, 10x. It's
Mm,
that piece
right.
that's going to take what you know really to the next level.
That's
Mm.
great. So when people hear your experience, what I'm hearing is when people hear your experience and they connect with your story, that's the thing that's really going to make the difference. Because lots of people have the skills, lots of people have the
Mhm.
strengths, lots of people have the passions, but how do you piece it together, saying this is who I am, this is where I was. I made a decision. I used my knowledge, learned, grew, and now here I am standing on top of the mountain, quote unquote, and I can help you get to where you want to go, or I'm on the journey with you. So join me.
Totally. Well, that's the thread that makes you absolutely unique. When there is only one of you that has this skill, these strengths, and these life experiences, there is no one else. At that point, there's no competition. There is only you. And people will either, vibe with that or they won't. But the people that do, it will be so much deeper. So, we talk about know, like, and trust. And I have to credit Dallin Need for this. He's like, why do we only want to have know, like, and trust? What about know, love, and trust? We want these people to totally love what we're doing, and we want to love what we're doing. And that's, we're creating this unique mission-based, purpose-based entrepreneur that people are like, like, I love what they stand for. I would totally walk up a mountain for that person. I want to be there with them, and I'm going to hang out with them.
I love it. That's so awesome. I want to talk about the evolution of your business, and it's been about 10 years or so doing the coaching, consulting, that kind of stuff. When did you say, I want to help people with their knowledge, really monetize their knowledge and serve people with their knowledge?
Yeah, this is such a cool question. And I think that before I even start, this is a journey I believe that we all need to go on to get there. And we're always on this journey, right? But the very first thing back in 2010, at the time I had a health and wellness business, and I used to run seminars all the time and retreats on how to create a life you love. So that's obviously, it's been a theme for me for a while. But what was coming up all the time was this one piece around, I'm not happy in my job. I want to take control of my career, or I want to start a business. How do I do it? And we'd had our businesses were extremely successful. Like I grew our business, from the ground up, from $0, and took it to $1 million in only a few short years. And that was back in the 90s. And people would always say, how did you do that? How do you get up and running? And before long, I had more business clients than I did like health and wellness clients. And that was my passion anyway. So I kind of ran with that. And then over the next couple of years, it was really dialing into, all right, well, I could be a business coach like every other business coach, but that's not my strength. Helping people pull apart their numbers, I can do it, and I'm very good at it. Do I love it? Is it my strength? So it's really, I realized that I had this gift. And this is another piece. A lot of times our gift is the thing that comes to us so easily that we don't even realize we've got it. So I used to be able to, people would tell me in 20 seconds, this. And I'm like, okay, so you could either have this business model, or this could be your avatar, or, you could do this. And they'd look at me like, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is so easy. Can't you see it? And that's when I realized it, but it took me a little while. It took me probably a couple of years to go, oh, hang on. Just because I think it's easy doesn't mean that everyone else thinks it's easy. So once I realized that this was a thing, I just really doubled down, tripled down into that, and went, I just really want to help other people to work with what they already have. Because I think so many people, and I'm sure you see this, Chris, they're just searching. They're always searching. Like, I just can't get there. Yeah. I just can't get that happiness, or I can't get that freedom. And I was like, but hang on, you've already got it. It's already there. But let's put that on steroids and make it even bigger. So that, it happened a couple of years into the journey. But I really would love everyone that's listening or watching to think about, what is it that I do so easily that other people just go, how do you do that? Because that's your gift. That's the bit that probably lights you up, and it's the bit that makes everyone else go, oh, I have to work with you.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And, in someone's gift, they're really great at something, and then other things they might not be so great at. How do you advise your clients when it comes to, building teams, delegating, outsourcing? What do you recommend around that?
Yeah, totally. And it all has to be done, right? If you can walk a mountain on your own, it's not a very big mountain. If you think of Mount Everest, as a big mountain, you've got Sherpas to help you. You've got people that carry the weight. So if you can walk that mountain on your own, it means You know, it's not very big. So it really is, you have to understand your zone of genius, and you have to understand that if I'm not so good at something, I need to bring someone else in. And years and years ago, one of the best bits of advice I ever got from one of my business coaches was hire people that are better than you in the things that you hate doing. And I learned that really early in our business career, and it totally changed our business, because I think when you very first start in business, you wear all the hats and you think you're the best at everything, and you think that you're the only one that can do it, and I can't delegate that because it's so much faster if I do it myself. And then you do get to a point where you're just like, you know what, I'm actually not the best. And, you know, the people that you do bring in, they might not do it exactly the same as you, but does that mean you were the best? Maybe they're better. So really embrace bringing people in around you and creating that team environment. And if that's something you've never done, and if it's something that doesn't come easily, get someone to help you with it, because building a team, if you've never done it before, can be a challenge. But really understanding the systems and the processes to be able to bring that team in as quickly and easily as possible, to get them on board as quickly as possible, to make sure the systems and the processes in the back end of your business they allow the whole business to flow. That's really important. So do bring someone in to help you if that doesn't feel like you know something that's easy to do.
Yeah, I think most people, most entrepreneurs are not necessarily natural team builders and, like, you know, really great at bringing on employees or contractors and things like that, because they are technicians who said, I could do this better than the employee, right, or employer. And so they have a dream, they set out on it, and typically they don't have the systems and the processes and the onboarding and, you know, how do I actually make sure that I'm communicating effectively? Leadership is typically, you know, not a strong suit for them. You know, they have to really learn how do I delegate effectively and communicate my expectations. I think it's a big challenge point for a lot of entrepreneurs.
It was for me. I was a terrible leader when I first started. Like at the time I didn't think, but I look back and go, oh my goodness, I'm so surprised my staff stayed with me. But, you know, it is something that I've learned, and, you know, systems and processes, you have to have them. You cannot build a 7-figure business without team and without systems. Like, it's not possible.
So let's dive into that. How do we know what we need? What kind of systems and processes we need to get to that 7-figure mark?
Yeah, so the easiest way to do this is at any time, just go, hang on a minute, did something break? So as in, was there something that we did and it didn't go well? So that means that a system needs to be put in, or a process needs to be put into place. Or is there something that you've just done 2 or 3 times in a row that someone else could have done? That's the perfect opportunity to go, let's build a system. I mean, we had it yesterday. Something happened in our business, and I just reached out to the team and went, this has just happened. And I actually, instead of saying to them, so this is what we're going to do, I say, this has just happened. How can we all put our heads together to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And I actually leave it up to my team to go, well, what about this idea? Or what about this idea? Every now and again, I'll say, oh, we're going to do it this way. But, you know, 8 times out of 10, they're the ones that are you know, looking after that back end of the business. They will know how to create a system to fix it. So, yeah, you know, if there's something that you're doing all the time, create a system, even if it's as simple as, you know, in a shop, for example, picking up the phone. We had a system. This is the script when you pick up the phone, so that every customer knew, you know, this is they were used to hearing it that way. Or, you know, canned responses for emails, so that your team can deal with 80% of your emails.
That's great. A book that comes to mind when you're saying that is E-Myth. I'm sure you've read it. Michael Gerber. Yes. So good.
That book is so dog-eared in my bookcase behind me. It is such a fantastic book, and even though some of the things he talks about in that book are a little outdated, the general concepts absolutely still apply today.
Yeah, this is gold. You have a podcast. I want to talk about, like, how that was a apart. I see it so much, walking your talk of being a thought leader. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that aligns with your business model and your strategy and your message?
Yeah, so a few years ago, I was talking with my business coach, we were I'm always drilling down. I'm always talking things out with people to
Mhm.
make things smoother. And I said, oh, I'm trying to think of this word to describe the people I work with. And he said to me, there's a word you've probably said like 10 times in the last 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, what's that? He's like, thought leader. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't work with thought leaders. I'm not a
Mm.
thought leader. Like, I'm thinking of these mythical people that are up here that,
Gurus.
thought leaders, that are that we don't talk to those people. And after, I was sort of playing around with it, and I went, actually, you know what? The people I
Mm.
work with are thought leaders. They all have their unique perspective. They're all really smart. They have their own methodologies. This is what I
Mm.
was helping them to create. And I thought about it, I thought, they are thought leaders. And the more and more I embraced the cloak of being a thought leader myself, because
Mhm.
I even had this thought, oh, I'm not good enough to be a thought leader.
Mm.
However, once you start to be a thought leader, I would be working on something and I'd ask myself, is that work you've just done, is that the quality of a thought leader?
Wow.
Yeah, maybe not. I can probably, go the next mile with that. And all of a sudden, my content and the models
Mm.
and the workshops and everything all just started going to the next level. So
Wow.
you need to be, who do you need to
Mm.
be that thought leader? And I think that a lot of us wait for other people to bestow the title on us. But rather than just go day to day and wait for someone to tell us that we're that person, what if we were all that person right now?
Mm.
And I I want to see everyone thinking of themselves and acting like a thought leader and seeing what happens to the quality of the work that they produce, the quality of the clients that they work with, and what happens to their business. Like,
Mm.
I think it makes so much difference.
Yeah, and I hear like thought leader. The identity of that is more than just a manager. It's more than just an entrepreneur. Even like these all titles are pretty related. But like thought leader is like, hey, you are on the cutting edge of how to do something. Expertise, like really of an industry, pioneering an industry. And I think that that's something a lot of us aspire to be like, is the go-to authority in a certain niche.
Mm. You need to really own that thought leader title though,
Mm.
if I can say title. Don't just take what you hear, because all of
Yeah.
us, what we teach is a culmination of what we've heard.
Mm.
But this is where you really need to put your own spin on it. You really need to do research. You really do need to be on
Yes.
the cutting edge.
Yes.
You need to be pushing boundaries all the time. I don't believe that you being a life coach that's the same as all the other life coaches is you living to your potential of being a thought leader. But what experiences and knowledge can you bring in? What learning can you take to take that to the next level? What do
Mm.
you need to research? What do you need to know so that you can take your knowledge to the next level and
Mm.
make what you're talking about cutting edge? Make it so that people sit up and go, that's a little bit different than everything else I've heard before.
Yeah, and I find a lot of people. I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but I find a lot of people are kind of just winging being a thought leader and winging be a coach or business owner, entrepreneur, different things like that, right? And no matter what industry, what area, there's people who are just winging it. And I've found when people are willing to do the research, like you're talking about, like really dig into why are things the way they are, what are the trends, what are the data, whether you're
Yes.
a like mathematical or scientific person or not, like you have the responsibility, everyone who's listening or watching right now, you have the responsibility to know your industry and know the trends, know the patterns. And some people are like, I don't like numbers. Okay, good. Well, just get enough numbers so that you know like what's going on in your industry, and then like pour your time and your energy into the psychology, into the human element of it or whatever it is. But I think it's like really the research to further the expertise and like what sets you apart from other people. It's so needed today to stand out in the
Mm.
marketplace.
Absolutely. There's a really good website called Futures Platform. I
Hmm.
do a lot of research on there that shows you the data of what what they're expecting to happen in most industries are on there. By 2025, 2050, you can see through heat maps what industries are going to die out, what are going to expand. I mean, it's all, it's all hearsay, or, they're expecting these things to happen, projections. However, it starts to get you to really think, and opens up a lot of questions. And I've from a lot of the research I've done around the coaching industry and around the consulting industry and the future of work and the way that corporates are hiring. I've been speaking to people in government departments about what does this look like moving forward? How does this relate to, by the way that this industry is going, back to housing? If people are not employed anymore, and it's and they're freelance in the way the banks lend money, like, this is not the way most coaches think. But I'm looking, okay, what's the knock-on effects in our industry? Where do we need to be? How do we need to position ourselves now so that we're ahead of the curve? So, I don't know if you've seen, have you seen the Netflix special Inside Bill's Brain? The Bill Gates, oh my goodness, you have to watch it. Wow. So Bill Gates carries around a bag of books. He reads a whole bag of books every week, and it just shows you, and how much research he does. And I used to think I was pretty cool because I read 3 books a week, and I'm like, oh no, I've got to read a bag of books now. But we really need to be diving deep, and I believe that we can learn something from everyone.
Wow. That's great. I love what you said there at the end, like learning from everyone. We can really be open in our industries to saying, how do things work, and be curious. I think it's like a curiosity, a never-ending curiosity too. I think a lot of people might get into the rut of, I know that already, and it's good enough. But to challenge ourselves, to get outside of our comfort zone and say, what else can I learn about this? I know a certain amount, and what else can I learn? I think that's a really, really great attitude to take.
I love that word, curiosity. And I was listening to an interview with Neil Patel yesterday, and Neil Patel is like a fabulous, world-class marketer. Yeah. And he said straight out, he's like, there could be someone that's been marketing for 1 week, and they could tell me something that I didn't know. Wow. And I'm like, that is so true. We can always learn something from everybody. And getting in the I know is one of the worst things we can do for our personal growth, for our the growth of our expertise.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Samantha, with all that you're doing and empowering these thought leaders, what's the big mission? Why do you do it all? What's the state of the world that you see because of your work?
The biggest thing I love about doing my work is that it empowers people to take control of their lives. And when people are empowered, they're happy, they're more loving. And this is how beautiful to wrap this out with the name, with the theme of your show today, that I truly believe that entrepreneurs are going to change the world, not because of what we're doing. I think this is the piece that people don't understand. It's because when we all come together, what we can all do as a global community will literally change the world.
Wow. I love it. I love that you mentioned that, because we're in the age of like collaboration, cooperation, community, and like connecting peoples and their ideas and their brilliance and masterminding, right? Like, think about how distant everyone was before. You were talking about it earlier. We didn't have this technology, this video conferencing technology. Like, the United States having a conversation with Australia was damn near impossible 20 years ago, right?
It was really expensive to pick up the phone and do it.
It was like totally impractical. But with the evolution of technology, how connected, how fast ideas are spreading, it's just amazing to be able to solve global problems and like bring more love to humanity. It's so amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. How has community played a role in your business and your organization?
I've always been a big people person. I've always understood the value of collaboration and of people coming together. It's something that, again, it was just something I intuitively knew. No one had told me. I just automatically did that. But I think even more so now in this age of us being super and hyper connected with social media, with, all of the online abilities we've got to connect around the world, I find it extremely intriguing that we know more people than we ever have before yet we're feeling more lonely than we've ever felt before. And that community and connection and collaboration are the things that are going to be the cut through for us as a planet, us as entrepreneurs moving forward. I know that there's a lot of people talking about AI and automation, and I am a believer in automation in business. I get that. My business is automated. However, at the same time, I send a lot of voice messages to people. I pick up the phone and I ring people. People are like, thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much for ringing. People just like, oh, someone actually cares about me. People just want to be heard. And this is our superpower, or this is going to be our cut through, like to actually connect with people and bring communities together.
Yeah. So instead of like machine and automation and AI, which is great, we love it, but the thing that's going to set people apart and give them the edge in not getting phased out in life, is going to be the human element. It's going to be the care, the connection, the real, the authentic relationships that we have. And that's going to keep people relevant in any industry or any expertise that they're in.
Absolutely. There's nothing, I was going to say there's nothing better, but there is. Going to a conference and hanging out with people is amazing. I was going to say nothing better, but, and this, retreats, if you've ever been on a retreat, and I know you've got one coming up, retreats are life-changing. They are life-changing. And it's because you're going and you're connecting deeply with people. You're connecting, you're having a transformative process with other people. That's the part that changes your life. It's that transformation of being with community.
Yeah, the information is great, right? But we can just go Google stuff and find the information. But being in the room, being at the seminar, being at the retreat, it's a full immersion experience. Plus, you get to network and connect and spend time and like really integrate other people's brilliant ideas and their reflections of you, saying, hey, you're awesome. Like, I don't know what you're missing about your greatness and how amazing you are, but let me reflect back to you. I feel like we don't get that when we're just online listening or tuning into something. It's not as personal, not as direct a reflection as if someone's looking you in the eyes and saying how awesome you are.
Absolutely. And just think about this. If all the information is out on the internet, you can find just about anything you want out on the internet.
Yep.
Why aren't we all successful? Why don't we all have 7, 8, 9-figure businesses? Missing key, right?
Yes.
And the missing key is connection.
Wow. I love it. Everyone has different models and platforms and ways to run their businesses. If people are feeling like they have to kind of fit into a mold to grow a business, how do they know what's their gifts, how they should do it, and what's their unique way of doing it?
So there's a few ways to go about this. Number one, I went through that model earlier. Your the 4 areas.
Yep.
Definitely sit down and brainstorm. Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever it is. Go sit somewhere on the beach balcony on your bed and just brainstorm that out. The other thing, and I did this years ago, was I actually emailed people. I emailed family, so people that knew me very well. I emailed clients. I emailed people that had spoken at my events. So what I did was I took a snapshot from all of these people that would have seen me in different light. Because the way that a speaker from your conference views you and your mum and dad views you are completely different.
Yep.
So I actually emailed all these people and asked them questions like, what do you think my superpowers are? What values do you think I embrace? What do you think are, some of the strengths that I bring to business, some of the strengths that I bring to, whatever, and just ask some questions. And it was fascinating what came back. The thing that blew me away was that every single person and no one knew who else was sending the emails, pretty much got the same responses back from my strengths, which blew my mind and made me realize, that I was really authentically being who I was. I wasn't putting on different facades in different situations. But also, I'd always thought that I wasn't a very fun person. I always thought I was very, business, this kind of very logical, it's down to business kind of person. And every single person went, you're just so much fun. Wow. And that was that, you were talking before about this reflection. That was the moment where I went, oh, they all said I was fun. Oh, now I could go, oh, I'm fun. I could embrace that rather than being the only person who knew that I wasn't fun.
Wow.
So I think that's a really, really great, a great thing to do is to get the, clients and even people maybe you've interviewed some people on your podcast or whatever it is, reach out to people on social media and just get a snapshot of what people think of you, and you'll be fascinated what comes back.
I love it. It's really being curious about how you're showing up, how you're impacting other people. Because we can think one thing, like you said, being down to business, totally, let's get it done. And then everyone's like, you're so much fun. It's like, what? Really? That's in me? That's so cool to get that feedback. And I know curiosity is an essential element of, for me, mastery and learning. We kind of touched on it a little bit. Yes. You got a hashtag mastery in your environment. Yes, tell us why that is important for you, Samantha.
Oh, I think that, and this is, I think it comes from my dance background. I'm a classical ballet dancer, which, is very not cool to be a classical ballet dancer. But it's my passion. I love it. Like, I can watch the ballet and be moved to tears because I know what goes into it. And I grew up in that environment where I was, 6-7 days a week sometimes in class doing the same thing over and over and over and over. I may have done one single step, like I may have done it 15 times just in 1 week, and you do that for years. And so I grew up thinking that was normal. And then I saw people in the business world that was trying something once. I did this webinar once and it didn't work. Once? Hang on, just say that again. You did it once and it didn't work? Or people that say Facebook ads don't work. Tell me about that. Oh, well, I did this Facebook ad once and it didn't work. That doesn't mean Facebook ads don't work, and that's what mastery is all about. It's like, I love that you said being curious. It's like, well, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work this time? If it works for other people, it's got to work. Or maybe, like I started my business at 19, 20. I didn't even know how to do business. So it was always asking myself, how could I do this? It's letting the rules go and saying, what do I need to do to make this better? So if you've done your webinar once, maybe you need to do it another 52 times. Maybe you need to run it live for a whole year and keep tweaking it every single week. That's mastery. Focus. I
love it. And just, it's like there's so many different ways to approach business, and everyone has their own unique, path. And I love that that's like I think the biggest element of the journey is just deciding, here's what I'm going to go after. Let's test it. Let's figure it out. Let's just stay in the game, because when we're sitting on the sidelines, when we're thinking about something, then we're not making progress. But when we're actually being curious and taking the swings, like putting the reps in, that's when we really grow.
Yeah. I see so many people put together a program, do a webinar, put it out into the world and go, oh, it didn't work. I got, 2 sales, 10 sales, maybe I got 0 sales. And then they try something else. And guess what? The results are the same. And they do something else and the results are the same. Instead of, I got 2 sales this time, let's go for 4 next time. Let's refine this. Let's go for 8 next time. Let's go for 100 next time. And just repeat it over and over. What do I need to do better? What needs to be refined? What was the mistake? What can we change?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't get my messaging right. Maybe my avatar's not right. Maybe the copy wasn't right. Like, I think that too many people go on to the next bright, shiny object. Like, just put the bright, shiny objects in the cupboard and just focus on one thing and get it right.
Yeah. A question that I had to ask myself that was tough at first. My business partner actually asked me it and I hated it. He's like, what did this person need to hear that you didn't do on the sales conversation that you can do differently next time? And I'm like, man, I hate that question, because like I'm responsible. I am the creator of this result that I'm going after. And if I hit the target, great, then I was successful. But if I missed it, then what do I need to tweak, right? Not blame the person, not say, screw them, they didn't buy, but rather say, hey, what can I do differently? How can I serve this person more effectively? How can I illuminate the benefits and the value of what we have going on even more effectively? And to just have the humility to go back and look. I think that's something a lot of people can be missing today, or kind of trying to skip by. But when you really reflect, when you listen back to the podcast episode, when you listen to the sales call, when you really reflect on the launch and say, hey, what was missing? What did they need to receive or experience for it to have worked? That's a really powerful conversation.
How awesome that you've got a business partner that's asking you those questions. Like, you must have full gratitude for that person, because I don't think enough people ask the tough questions. And when we don't get those questions, we can't grow. It's so important to surround yourself by the people that are not just yes men, like people that know, okay, Chris or Sam's having a bad day today, we need to give him a hug. Or, you know what, Sam, you need to put your socks up. That was actually like BS what you did today. It was not good enough. Okay, all right, I've got to make it better, And I think that that's really important too, We need to surround ourselves with the people that are going to give us the gold food of love when we need it.
Yeah, I love this. I had a conversation with our mastermind earlier this week, and one of the guys is just like, man, I don't know, and I've heard it before. I'm like, bro, I'm not going to let you get away with playing small anymore. Like, that doesn't work. Cut that stuff out, right? And really own that you have the power to create your clarity, to create your momentum, to create the solution. So what do you want to do? What are you deciding? Like remind them, hey, you're trying to like hide and play small, but no, I'm not going to allow you to do that. You are so much more powerful than you're giving yourself credit for. And like, to have people in our lives that do that, oh my gosh, that's like everything.
Absolutely. I went out on the weekend with one of my ex-clients, and I was telling her about a massive win that one of my clients had. And she just said to me, she's like, did you ask that person, when are you going to stop telling yourself that BS story? And we cracked up laughing, because she said, I will never forget it. She said, I went home and I cried for a whole day because I called her out on it. And she said, and you know what? It changed my life. She's doing amazing things now. She said, but that day, it was the first time that someone had really got under her skin, because it really pushed her buttons. Like, because they start off first like, oh, well, get lost. Who are you to be telling me that? And then hang on a minute. Maybe I am telling myself a BS story.
Yeah. So, that's it's like one of the toughest things to do, when you love someone, but it's in their best interest. And I think we just get to stand for people's potential more, even when it's uncomfortable, even when they may not like it. I think when we feel something like a truth that we get to voice, we really get to stand up for that. And I know it can be kind of, difficult. I think a lot of people want people to be comfortable and happy and, enjoy life. We want to enjoy life. We want to feel good. And like, the biggest difference that we can make as leaders is having those tough conversations.
Absolutely. And as any good coach needs to be able to ask do the job, ask the questions that need to be asked, and not have the fear that someone's not going to be their best friend, And when we, I guess, as a good coach, drop from our head and drop to our heart, we know when it's the right time to ask those questions, and I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. You mentioned drop from the head to the heart, and I heard intuition. How does intuition play a role in your journey, Sam?
Oh my goodness, so much. Like, I'm a very intuitive person. I can really feel energy at a deeper level than I think a lot of people can. And when I first was in business, my husband at the time was a very logical person. He's an auditory digital person.
Yes,
He's just
like,
logical.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, as someone that feels a lot, what happened was I started questioning my intuition and thinking it was wrong and feeling weird to use it. So I was a very logical person. And it, once I was sort of on my own, and I noticed that when I didn't listen to my gut, things didn't pan out so well, ever. And when I started to listen to my gut, things went well, and I was able to teach myself it's okay. It's okay to feel what you should be doing. And I think that you need to do that enough till you get to a point where you still can have a feeling but still bring that experience into a certain way, and it's a hard line to cross, because you also don't want to let past experiences dictate what you do, because we all have BS stories and limiting beliefs, but to still go, okay, so my logic tells me that I should be doing this, what am I feeling right now? So at least we can make the best decision at the time for us.
Yeah, this is great. It can be super difficult, to know, hey, is this my intuition? Is this for my highest good and highest and best good, or am I operating out of fear? Am I operating out of what's safe? Like really checking in. And I think the best thing I found is to go to like nature, really quiet life down, like slow down a little bit, and just really take the time to tune in and sit with it versus, like trying to rush through it. If I'm conflicted on something, I can really create some space and feel into it. And it comes with practice, it comes with time to be able to develop that gift.
It totally does. And this is why I go away a lot. So I do travel a lot, and that doesn't always mean that I'm traveling around the world. Twice a month, I go camping. I go out to nature.
That's awesome.
No phone, no internet, nothing, campfire, just like living in a tent. And it's always those times where everything from, the couple of weeks before drops in, or something that I've been thinking, I just can't get my head around this. Just sitting there and listening to the birds, all of a sudden it's just like clarity. Wow. So it's really important to give yourself the space to be able to think. And I think the more that you do practice, and you talked about this just a little bit earlier, the easier it becomes. So I don't need to go and be in nature all the time. I now can make a decision based on intuition within 3 seconds because I've practiced it. Intuition's like a muscle. You need to practice it all the time and understand that you're always safe. Like, ask yourself the question, if I go with my gut right now and it's wrong, what is the worst thing that can happen to me? Yeah.
That's great. And I know people can be in a momentum energy of being disconnected. And when you go to nature more often, you get reconnected with it. So it doesn't take as much work or time or energy to get back into that state of alignment and connection with the intuition too. So I'm sure in the beginning, you probably weren't so connected, but when you started camping more often, you're able to like drop in a lot faster because you're experiencing nature. It's a consistent muscle that you've been developing.
Absolutely. And I love that word that you just said, alignment too. That's such a big part of it. When you drop into the heart, it's knowing, am I in alignment with what's within while I'm making a decision of something external?
So great. I love this. Samantha, let's wrap it up, bring it home with some final takeaways, final point that you want to give to our audience. Could be something we already covered, or it could be something that we didn't touch on yet. What do you want to drive home?
What I really want everyone to walk away from this with is that you can create whatever it is that you want, but you need to be really clear on what it is that you want. So many people say, I don't want this. And you say, well, what do you want? Say, well, I'm not quite sure. And if that's your answer, if you don't even know, start with what you don't want to get to what you do want. But whatever it is, take some time. I take a good 3-4 hours once a quarter of really getting very clear on what my future needs to look like. And then once you know what it is or where it is that you want to be, you don't need to know how it's going to happen. You only need to know what, and the how will just present itself bit by bit. You don't need to get there tomorrow, just step by step by step. And people will show up along the way that'll help you. You'll think it's like magic, but you're creating it.
I love it. So clarity, tapping into the divine alignment, everything working out perfectly, showing up, taking action. Don't be on the sidelines, be on the court, make it happen, and trust that everything's unfolding. Samantha, this is gold. How do people stay connected with you? What do they do next to continue their journey with you?
So if you want to get the Life by Design blueprint to ask yourself the questions that we were just talking about to get the clarity, go to samanthariley.global/design to grab your Life by Design blueprint. If you want to understand how to leverage your knowledge to get more income, I also have a freedom business matrix if that's something that interests you, you can go to samanthariley.global/freedom. So those 2 downloads are there for you to really get clear on what it is that you want to create and how to leverage that knowledge and make more income, have more freedom, and make a bigger impact, because that's what we're all here to do.
I love it. And what is your podcast again? Tell them what that is.
Thought Leaders Business Lab. We drop episodes every Monday and every Thursday.
Boom, shakalaka. You heard it, peeps. Thought Leaders Business Lab, and go to samanthariley.global. Check out all she's got to empower you to become your greatest possible self. Sam, thank you so much for being here and sharing your love with our audience. It's really been an honor, and I love what you're doing, love what you're up to, your mindset, and how you're inviting thought leaders to really step into their greatness and serve the world with love.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. I appreciate you too. We'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, ciao.